It is midnight in Washington, 6 in London, and 2 on a Friday afternoon here in Seoul. I'm Moon Conn-young. Let's get a check of the main stories we're following at this hour. With North Korea watchers saying there remain more questions than answers in the reclusive state following North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's execution of his uncle, the state's second most powerful figure, Pyongyang fires fresh threats of an unexpected strike on Seoul. South Korea vows to react sternly to any provocations. The rail workers' strike in this country, unprecedented in length, continues for the 12th day on this Friday. More union leaders have been arrested, but more than 11% of the unionized workers have returned to work. And part of the ceiling of London's historic Apollo Theatre collapses during a packed performance, injuring more than 80 people, leaving some of them in serious condition. We'll have the details. But let us start with a fresh warning out of Pyongyang that turns up the temperature on inter-Korean relations. North Korea has threatened to strike South Korea. A South Korean government official who asked to remain anonymous said the North National Defense Commission sent a fax on Thursday evening to Seoul's National Security Council through the inter-Korean military hotline, threatening to strike the South without warning. Well, this comes after several conservative groups held rallies right here in Seoul on Tuesday, protesting North Korea's authoritarian rule and human rights abuses. The North said the rallies insulted its highest dignity, referring to its young leader Kim Jong-un. In response, the South Korean government said it would react sternly to any provocations by the North. And the U.S. government has expressed serious concerns that the recent execution of the North Korean leader's uncle could be a prelude to some kind of provocation. ARIRANG News Park Ji-won reports.
General Martin Dempsey, chairman of the U.S. military's Joint Chiefs of Staff, says a North Korean provocation could be in the works following the recent execution of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's uncle Jang Song-taek.
These kind of internal actions by dictators are often a precursor to provocation to distract attention from what they're doing inside of that country. So yeah, if you're asking me, am I concerned? Absolutely.
Speaking at the same Pentagon press conference Thursday, U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel said North Korea's sudden removal of the once powerful Jang increases concerns about the North and deepens the suspicions of the regime's motives.
That nation is as closed as any nation in the world. There is no transparency. There is no interconnect to the outside world.
The execution of Jang is seen by experts as the biggest upheaval in North Korea since the regime conducted its third nuclear test in February. With Jang out of the picture, suspicions are rising about the path the North will take in the coming weeks and months. Park Ji-won, ARIRANG News.
Well, the UN General Assembly has adopted a resolution condemning North Korea for its human rights abuses. The resolution, adopted by consensus on Wednesday, called on the North Korean regime to immediately release the political prisoners and raise concerns about the systematic and grave violations of the civil, political, economic, and social rights of the people. Now, it also referred to open executions that take place inside the reclusive state. The latest resolution comes days after UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said Jang Song-taek's execution was a human rights issue and that the UN does not endorse the death penalty under any circumstances. Well, the General Assembly also adopted resolutions on Syria and Iran, expressing serious concerns about human rights violations in those countries. Meanwhile, retired American basketball player Dennis Rodman arrived in North Korea Thursday, just a week after the execution of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's uncle Jang Song-taek. In an interview with the Associated Press in Pyongyang, Rodman made clear that his visit has nothing to do with politics, saying that he cannot control what the North Korean government does. Well, Rodman added that he is there as a sports figure and said he's putting the finishing touches on a plan to bring 12 former NBA players to Pyongyang for an exhibition game next month to celebrate the young leader's birthday. Well, this is Rodman's third visit to North Korea this year, and he remains the most high-profile American to meet Kim Jong-un since the young leader assumed power 2 years ago. Back here in the South, the nationwide rail strike has rumbled into its 12th day, with striking workers and the state-run Korea Railroad Corporation failing to reach a compromise on the establishment of a new rail operator. Workers are protesting Korail's move to set up an affiliate that would run a new bullet train route, which they see as a step toward privatization, but which Korail denies. The Transport Ministry said it will issue a license for the new rail service operator next week, backtracking slightly from an earlier plan to issue the license today. Well, the strike has crippled railway services nationwide, hitting cargo train services the hardest. Rail freight operations are running at 39% of normal levels, and passenger services are at 56% and 61% for the Seoul and Mugunghwa trains, respectively. At least 990 of the roughly 7,500 unionists have returned to work following an ultimatum issued by Korail to be back on the job by Thursday. Now, a fine dust preliminary warning has been issued for the Seoul metro area as of this 8 a.m. this morning. The Seoul city government said it issued the alert because the fine dust concentration level had exceeded 60 micrograms per cubic meter for a more than 2 hours due to a light fog and low wind speeds in the city. Officials advise elderly, children, and people with respiratory problems to stay indoors or wear face masks when going out. This is the second time a preliminary warning has been issued in the last 4 days. Well, a new government report shows that Korea's poverty rate across its growing proportion of senior citizens now ranks the highest in the OECD. The report also points out other key livelihood factors such as average income and alcohol consumption. Our Polly gives us a snapshot of life in Korea based on this new data.
New data released by Statistics Korea this week indicates Korea's elderly population is sinking further into poverty. According to the government agency, the relative poverty rate among senior citizens aged 65 and older nationwide stood at 46% in 2006. That figure rose to nearly 50% last year for elderly households earning less than half the median income. It's a stark contrast compared to the OECD average of about 13%, with Korea ranking the highest among 33 OECD member countries, followed by Australia and Mexico. Other population statistics reveal that the number of Korean workers earning less than the legal minimum wage shrank over the past 3 years. Approximately 1.7 million individuals were counted as part of the country's working poor last year, or about 9.6% of total workers, down from 12.8% in 2009. Consumption of alcohol was found to be high, with an average of 8 out of 10 men drinking at least once a month. Over 26% of men surveyed were found to binge drink more than twice a week, with 6.5% of women also taking part in high-risk drinking. Combined with high levels of reported stress, these conditions place a heavy burden on people's livelihoods. Data from the OECD ranks Korea 26 out of the 36 member nations in terms of overall life satisfaction. People from Switzerland were found to be the most satisfied with their lives, with Germany falling in the middle of the list. The figures represent significant challenges for the government to tackle in order to improve the quality of life here and ensure a sustainable future society. Paul Yi, ARIRANG News.
Now, the governor of Korea's central bank says local financial markets are doing well, weathering the impact of the U.S. Federal Reserve's decision to start tapering its bond-buying stimulus measures. In a meeting with the heads of local banks Friday, Kim Jong-un cited the net buying on Korea's stock and bond markets after the Fed's announcement on Thursday. Well, the benchmark Kospi is now trading at 1977 after opening lower at 1973 this Friday, while the local currency is trading weaker against the greenback at a bit shy of 1,062 won against the dollar as of 1:30 p.m. Korea time. Well, all that glitters might be gold, but the price of the precious metal has taken a massive toll this year, tumbling a staggering 26%. Despite the downward trend, the chance to buy gold at what some see as a knockdown price has sparked a gold rush here in Korea. Our Kwon-soa reports.
To buy or to sell? That is always the question when it comes to gold. Right now in Korea, customers prefer to buy.
With Christmas and New Year coming up, many seasonal products are being released. Gold bars and seasonal pure gold products are selling well.
With global demand dropping to a 4-year low, Korean gold prices have plunged as well. The price fell from roughly $44 a gram in September to $39 this month. At the beginning of the year, the price was $56. Compared to last year, gold can be purchased at rates that are roughly 30% cheaper. In 2011, the price of gold hit a record high of $67, which is about 40% higher than the current figures. In one jewelry shop in central Seoul's Jongno district, 10 first birthday rings are sold each day, a drastic jump from years ago when it was just 2 rings a day on average. 24-carat rings are a traditional gift for Korean babies on their first birthdays, and their lower price tags these days are enabling more people to afford them. So why did the gold price drop this far?
The biggest reason for the drop in the price of gold is the beginning of the drawdown of quantitative easing, meaning it depends on whether the US dollar is strong or weak.
Economists say that due to expectations the Federal Reserve would begin tapering its quantitative easing program, the price of gold plunged in recent months. After the Fed's announcement Wednesday that it would start tapering its stimulus program, the global gold price dropped 3.5% to a 6-month low of just over $1,190 an ounce, or roughly $43 a gram. Kwon-soa, ARIRANG News.
And back with the stock numbers, Seoul shares rose in early trading on this Friday with battered automakers such as Hyundai Motor lifted by bargain hunting while investors assess the Federal Reserve's decision to unwind stimulus. As of 1:30 p.m. Korea time, the benchmark Kospi was up nearly 0.1%, trading at 1977. The Kospi is on track for a weekly gain of 0.8%. This is its first in 3 weeks. The tech-heavy Kazakh was also trading in positive territory by more than 0.4%, while on the foreign exchange counter, the Korean currency was trading weaker against the greenback at a bit shy of 1,062 won. And turning now to one of the biggest data breaches in history, U.S. retailer Target has warned that data from as many as 40 million credit and debit cards used by customers in its stores may have been compromised. Target says the stolen information includes the names, card numbers, card expiration dates, and 3-digit security codes of customers who shopped in its stores between November 27th and December 15th, which is the peak of the holiday shopping season. Well, the retailer says it has alerted the relevant authorities and financial institutions to the breach and is working with experts to prevent similar incidents happening again in the future. Customers have been advised to keep a close eye on their debit and credit card statements for any irregularities.
All of the day's important events. Events close to home, around the world.
Second half last, figure out what winners.
The arts and culture scene and the heart of global business.
Experts added that
ARIRANG News has your whole day covered.
the legislature will convene a plenary session this Wednesday and vote on the government restructuring.
Now, scores of people are injured, some very seriously, after the ceiling of a packed Apollo Theater in London collapsed during a show. Connie Kim has the details.
Police say at least 88 people have been injured, 7 seriously, after part of a ceiling in London's Apollo Theater collapsed during a performance on Thursday evening local time. Many of the wounded were transported in a double-decker bus to a nearby hospital for treatment. Authorities say that while several people were very badly hurt, no one suffered life-threatening injuries. Police say the collapse occurred at around 8:15 p.m. local time when over 700 people were watching a performance of the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime. Coming a week before Christmas, the Apollo Theatre, like many others in London, was packed to the brim with theatergoers. Witnesses say they heard a strange crackling noise before the collapse, but thought it was part of the show.
We just thought it was sound effects of the theatre, and then of the and then we just looked up and the whole ceiling it was like slow motion, it just kind of came down.
Shaftesbury Avenue, where the Apollo is located, remains cordoned off by the authorities. About an hour before the ceiling collapse, London was hit by a heavy thunderstorm, but the exact cause of the collapse in the 112-year-old theater is, as yet, unknown. Connie Kim, ARIRANG News.
Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych has launched an impassioned defense of the multi-billion-dollar aid package he secured from Russia. In a televised news conference Thursday, Yanukovych said securing cheaper gas and credits for Moscow had been the only way to stave off default. Under the deal reached this week in Moscow, Russia said it would buy up to $15 billion worth of Ukrainian bonds and securities and slash gas prices for Ukraine by more than a third. Well, Yanukovych also said he does not welcome Western intervention in internal issues, adding Kiev may adopt parts of the Russia-led customs union alongside other former Soviet republics. Opposition groups and protesters continue to rally in the capital's main square against the president's last-minute refusal to sign a trade deal with the European Union. Meanwhile, over in Moscow, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he will pardon at least 20,000 prisoners, including former tycoon and longtime Kremlin critic Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who has been in jail for 10 years on charges of tax evasion and embezzlement. Speaking after his annual news conference Thursday, Putin said Khodorkovsky had sent him a request for clemency because his mother is ill. Putin confirmed the amnesty would also include the 2 members of the punk band Pussy Riot, who were sentenced to 2 years in prison last year after staging a protest at a Moscow cathedral, and 30 Greenpeace activists. Analysts say the surprise move seems to be aimed at easing international criticism of Russia's human rights record ahead of the Winter Olympics in Sochi in February. Well, Korea is pretty well known globally for its vibrant fashion scene, but you may have been wondering who the best dressed people are in the country. Well, ponder no more, because the Korea Best Dresser Awards were held in Seoul Thursday night, and our Connie Lee was there.
Meet some of Korea's best dressed people. From celebrities to politicians, the annual Korea Best Dresser Swan Awards recognize some big names who have style. A total of 14 people won, including Korea's A-list actor Chung Woo-sung and model-turned-actress Ko Jun-hee. Philippine-born lawmaker Lee Jasmine was also awarded as a politician with some fashion sense. She's now become the first foreigner to be given this award.
This award show started in 1983, so it's been 30 years of trying to get Korea's fashion industry in the global spotlight. The winners weren't selected just for the clothes they wear. They were chosen for their sense of style and how they present themselves in an attire that suits them.
Hosted by model agency Model Line and the Korea Fashion Association, the event boasted some 500 guests, including fashion industry leaders from China and Japan. In its 30th year, the Swan Award winners are selected by fashion industry insiders and through online surveys. Other Best Dressed winners include model and actor Clara, ballerina Kim Joo-won, and child actor Yeo Jin-gu. Korean designer Yang Hae-il was also recognized with the Designer of the Year award. Past winners include current President Park Geun-hye when she was a lawmaker, and K-pop stars SHINee and Super Junior. Connie Lee, ARIRANG News.
And now we have our Lee Tae-oh with us for our final arts and culture segment of the week. Now today he will be telling us about what he tells me, art performance. All right, so let's bring him in. Good afternoon to you, Tae-oh.
Good afternoon and happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you as well. All right, Teo, you said this is an art performance, and I'm not quite sure what you meant by this. I mean, art performance. Is it artistic performance or what?
No, actually, I really did mean art performance, because this performance that I'll be introducing you to today is actually a welcome sight for the eyes as well as a joy for the ears as well. But most of all, it's a performance that you definitely don't want to miss this weekend. Audio-visual, not audio and visual, but two words that are combined to make one. Together, they are combined to create not just one word, but one work of art. And currently, there are numerous artists in numerous genres experimenting with both art and sound. So, what exactly is audio-visual then? Son Ju-young, the curator of the Aleph project, explains it best.
It is the presentation of many different forms of sound combined with visuals.
The project is currently on display at the Seoul branch of the Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art, where you will have the opportunity to experience this up-and-coming form of contemporary art. The Korean artist, the Tacit Group, will be performing at MMCA Seoul as part of the Aleph project this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. The duo consists of Chang Jae-ho, who is a professor of music technology at the Korea National University of Arts, and techno-musician Lee Jin-won, who performs under the name Kajebal. The two started working together in 2009 with a performance at the Tusan Arts Center, and since then, they have been invited to perform all over the world at renowned venues such as Chicago's Museum of Contemporary Art and Lincoln Center in New York, as well as the Aarhus Festival in Denmark. It is a unique performance that requires a great deal of preparation. 6 separate stations are set up for 6 performers who will all be contributing to the creation of both the visual and the musical aspects of the performance, both of which are different for each performance and can change at a moment's notice. And the reason behind this? Well, it just so happens the reason and the process, not the output, but the input, is the main focal point of the Tacit Group.
The core of our work is neither audio nor visual, but the algorithm. It is about the procedure or the system, the rules. So when we work on our projects, we start from there. We first think of the system and the rules. From there, the audio and visual aspects are created.
So, simply stated, a system is created with a very simple input, and for every different kind of input, there is a corresponding output. That output then becomes the sights and sounds that the audience listens to while watching the visual effects. The system and input can be anything, ranging from the biology of the human body to a simple classic video game that determines and constantly changes the output. During this performance of Tacit Group's Six Pac-Man, the player of the game also becomes the composer of the music. In essence, a world is created with rules and boundaries, then is let loose to create an ever-changing world of sights and sounds that changes with each action of the performer and each interaction with either the computer or each other. It is a truly unique performance that is never the same and is always evolving, adapting, and growing within the set of rules of the algorithm. And if anything, it is a performance that you definitely need to see and hear.
I think definitely so, Teo. You definitely need to be there and experience it to know, because I can't, to be honest with you, I can't quite get a grasp of what this is. It's definitely not your typical, run-of-the-mill performance. I can see that, but basically they're using their laptops as music instruments to compose this new music that involves audio and visual effects.
That's exactly correct. Now, the performers use their laptops and work a system or a program in the computer that is made up of algorithms. So basically, each person or each performer sits at their little station and is playing. For example, we saw Pac-Man. Every time they die or come back to life or eat an item, the music and the visuals for the whole performance change. So it's never the same thing. It's always dynamic and changing.
So I'm just wondering, how would their concert look like?
Well, that's a question actually they got a lot, and I asked myself as well, because if the game never ends, the music never changes, and the concert would never end. But they have set rules for that as well. So whenever all the players finish claiming all their items, they go to the next stage, and after 21 levels, the game is over, and they go to their next song.
So these players, will there be players more than the two of them, the composers, on the stage?
Yes, exactly. On the performance and all of their performances, there are actually 6 different members of the team that are performing together, and basically, which means there are 6 players. And Pac-Man isn't the only format that they use. They also use a format for Tetris, as well as the Korean language, the English language. So the worlds that they create for their music and visual is always different, and it can be anything, really.
So basically, it's a very new or novel idea for many of us. And do you have a little bit a tip for us to better enjoy this performance?
Well, I asked the TASIC group myself as well, because I was wondering how we can better enjoy this kind of unique performance. And what they told me was to look for the boundaries, look for the rules and inside the game while you're watching the performance. And it's kind of like finding the hidden picture within a large picture.
Definitely very interesting. Another very merge of arts and technology. So we look forward to this performance, and I think I would recommend our viewers to go check it out. And that's all from me at this hour. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you back here at 4 p.m. Korea time.